Good morning, good morning. I am Sarah with Life with Training Wheels here for your new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st, 2025. I am talking a little bit quiet this morning just because everybody is still asleep as I'm recording this, but hopefully the sound is on fine and everything. This is also the first recording that I've done in a while where I don't have anything scripted. I'm just going off the cuff, so hopefully things go well. If this is your new time seeing me, please stick around, see what I've got to offer you. If you are returning, thank you so much for returning. Your support helps me so much and means the world to me. So, wow, the eclipse season that we are going through so far feels to be major to me, right? We had the lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces just a couple weeks ago, and now we are here for the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, and it has been an intense couple of weeks, and I believe that intensity is just going to continue. Now, depending on if you have any planets or points in your natal chart that are being directly impacted by any of this, clearly you will be feeling this energy more intensely, but these eclipse energies are definitely we can all feel it in the collective. There's so much going on in the world right now. I don't know how you cannot be feeling it in the collective. I'd love to hear in the comments below how, if this is impacting your chart, how you are feeling the energy, what is showing up for you, what might be leaving for you, those types of things, or if you are just more feeling this energy as being a part of the collective and part of the world. So as with all of my new moon and full moon forecasts, first I like talking about what the new or full moon represents overall, what type of energy that is, and then from there building on to what sign it's in, and then from there building on all the aspects that it's making. So we can all start at the concept of what it is that we're talking about, and then build on the uniqueness of each individual one, because new moons and full moons happen every month, right? But they all have very different energetic signatures, so I like to walk through those in a very strategic way, building layer by layer. So I hope that is something you enjoy and get value out of. So first and foremost, we are dealing with a new moon today, right? So what are new moons? New moons are when the sun and the moon are aligned in the sky, and the sun represents our soul's purpose here, right? It represents our vitality. It represents what we are learning and growing and who we are becoming in this lifetime. It is what we are meant to and how we are meant to show up in this world. Those things that we internally and externally want to be in this world. The moon is more about our emotions and our intuition, how we connect to our higher self, how we navigate the world and feel safe in the world, and what our emotional needs are. So when the sun and the moon are combined at a new moon, it's dark in the sky, right? It's a great time to plant seeds of intention, because basically our emotions and our ego and everything are all lined up. We're all wanting the same thing. We don't feel as much as at a full moon that we might be being pulled in different directions. Theoretically, everything is all lined up and we can be more focused on what we want to plant new seeds with, what intentions we want to make. From there, we look to see what sign it's in, and that kind of gives us an overall idea of what collectively we are going to be focused on. And then from there, where in your birth chart, what house that sign falls into, for you to get even a more a better idea of what area of life you are most likely going to be focused on during this new moon cycle. So that is what a new moon is. It's a perfect time to set new intentions, set goals, work with the energy rather than against it. So this new moon is in Virgo. So Virgo is the sign of health. It's the sign of like our daily routines and habits. It is where we are organized. It is where we want to make lists. It is where we have our habits. It is an earth sign, so it is also, it's where we want to be able to taste it, touch it, smell it, things like that. It is a cardinal sign, so it is a place where we like to start new beginnings in earth anyway. But it is a very practical, detail-oriented, where we structure and organize our daily lives. Like, what is our morning routine? What is our midday routine? What is our evening routine? It's where we like to, like I said, make lists and be organized, and where we can be critical of ourselves or others. It is like a place where we might judge ourselves or others. It's where we have a strong work ethic and a desire for perfection. This is where we can be great at problem solving, great at organization. So overall, this new moon in Virgo is where is wanting you to be focused on getting organized, and where you need to be practical, and where we need to be analytical and analyze things. And certainly in the collective energy, we can see that we do need to analyze things, right? There's a lot of things that we need to kind of take a step back on. And while we're seeing the bigger picture, also look at these details and don't necessarily just trust what might, I'm talking, what's been going on in the collective, obviously. But this is where we need to be detail oriented. Where in your life do you need to be practical, be analytical, dig a little deeper perhaps? So collectively, that's what we're looking at, is where we need to be more detail oriented, be more practical, have a little bit more of a work ethic perhaps, and be more analytical about things, where we kind of need to dig in to things and be more organized. But on a more personal level, wherever Virgo falls in your chart, it could be a good time to plant seeds of intention on that area of your life, and being more detail oriented and focused, and analyze kind of what's going on in that area of your life, and what new seeds of intention you want to plant, what you're done with, things of that nature. So then we look to see that this is a solar eclipse. So what that means is that this new moon is close to the north or south node. It can be either one. In this particular case, it is with the south node. But these are not planets. The nodes are not planets. They are calculated points. They are when the moon and the sun meet at the same point on their elliptical and their cycles around the earth, and the moon around the earth and us around the sun. And where these 2 points meet up is where the Earth's magnetic pull is the strongest on the Earth, and the sun's geomagnetic force is the strongest on the Earth as well. So that's why the energy of these eclipses, these new moons or full moons, whichever one we're dealing with, are so much more intense, because the energy is felt from the sun and from the moon more intensely on the planet, and they are aligned. Both the Earth does itself, which is why a lot of times there's a lot of natural disasters or things like that related to eclipses, but also on our bodies as well, right? Because we are made up of the same elements that the Earth is made up of. So that is why it affects our lives as well in a more strong way than a regular new moon or full moon. We talked about how this new moon is in Virgo, and it is a partial solar eclipse, which means it's not, exactly conjunct the south node, but it is within enough of a degree conjunction that it is a partial solar eclipse. And the areas of the world that will be felt, that this eclipse energy will be felt the most, are the areas that it will be visible. Unfortunately, it will not be visible here in North America, but it will be visible in New Zealand, Antarctica, the South Pacific, and parts of Australia, as well as over the South Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. So the people of those areas, as well as the Earth itself, will feel this solar eclipse more intensely than the rest of the world. So that is just something to keep in mind. And then again, if any of these planets or points in this new moon astrology chart are interacting with your birth chart very specifically, then clearly you will feel this more intensely as well. So now we are going to go ahead and pull up the chart. Okay, so here is the chart for this new moon solar eclipse. So here we have the sun and the moon at 29 degrees of Virgo. So this is a big deal, because at the beginning of Virgo season, we had a new moon at 0 degrees, which is of Virgo. And normally we don't have more than one new moon or full moon in a sign each season. Normally it's just one. So the fact that we're having two is pretty intense. So when we had the new moon at 0 degrees a month ago, it was not an eclipse. It was not close enough to this south node in Virgo here for it to be considered an eclipse. The 0 degree point of any sign is a sign of new beginnings. So that new moon was all about really looking at the Virgo areas of your life, and those areas where you need to be detail oriented and more practical and more analytical and more focused, and really starting something new there. Virgo also, has a lot to do with our health and our daily habits and things like that. So, really making goals as far as those things. Maybe you made some of those goals a month ago. Well, now we've had a month to work on those and see what's working, what's not. And now we're back to a new moon at the 29th degree. This new moon has a lot of feeling of both endings and beginnings with it, kind of like the full moon. The full moon 2 weeks ago, the full moon is often a time of releasing, right? But it was with the north node, which brings new things to it. So it was a time of 2 weeks ago at that eclipse, it was a time of letting go of something in order for new things to have room to appear in our lives. This one has a lot of similar energy in that we are being asked to let go of a lot of things for several reasons. Number one is that the 29th degree of any sign is kind of this critical degree of endings. It's the last degree of that sign, so it's where we should have been mastering things, and now we're ready to take whatever lessons we've learned, leave what needs to be left, right? Leave what isn't working, leave the more like lower vibrational energies of that sign behind, and take what we've learned with us to continue on our journey ahead. And so that we can take those new skills that we've learned through our journey into the next area of our life. But new moons are all about new beginnings. So this is an energy, kind of a confusing energy of new beginnings and new endings all at once. In addition, we have the South Node here, which is also about endings. South Node can bring things from our past for us to finish, like in kind of a karmic sense, like cycles to close out and things like that. But it's also asking us to leave those lower vibrational energies of Virgo behind. And so is this 29th degree. And then the new moon is asking us to plant seeds of what we want to take forward. So right off the bat with this, I would just kind of overall look at, first of all, find where you have Virgo in your chart, what house it's in, and that'll give you an indication of what area of life you're working with, right? Like if it's the 5th house, you're working with more of your creative senses, maybe entrepreneurship with your children, with your romantic partner. That's things that the 5th house rules, right? 10th house would be about career, like, so figure out where Virgo is in your chart, and that'll give you a better idea of the areas of life where you're asking to be letting go of things that are no longer working for you, the lower vibrational energies that Virgo brings to that area of life. But overall, as a collective, we can look at this as, like the shadow sides of Virgo are being too detail oriented, too analytical, too in our mind about things, too nitpicky. So, when that comes to ourselves, like demanding too much perfection of ourselves, letting go of perhaps imposter syndrome, letting go of being too self-critical relates to our health. It can be how we nourish ourselves. Virgo rules our digestive system, and therefore, does rule, plays a big part in our immune system as well. So looking at how we take care of ourselves, our mental, that gut-brain axis, how we're nourishing ourselves both mentally, spiritually, and physically by what we are eating, and looking at what habits are no longer serving us, what do we need to leave behind, how do we take information and what do we need to leave behind there. Also being too judgmental, right? Like in regards to our health, like feeling like we're not perfect enough, feeling like we don't have the right diet, feeling like we don't have the right body, feeling like we don't have whatever, like leaving those things behind and learning how, with this new moon, this new intention, maybe the new intention could be, I am too critical of myself, I am too critical of others, but in regards to the self, like I am too critical of myself, I am too critical of not accepting who I am and how I've been made, in the likeness and image of God, and how can I have more acceptance? How can I treat myself better? How can I look at things in a more logical and practical way rather than an emotional way, right? Virgo is that's why it's detail oriented and practical and logical. It doesn't have a whole lot of emotion with it. It looks at the facts. It looks at things like that. So, where do we need to, with how we view ourselves and how we view the information that we're bringing in and the food that we're bringing in, remove the emotion out of it and be logical about it, but not so nitpicky that we're tearing ourselves apart, if that makes sense. Like finding the balance between those two, I think that could be one thing. And then as well, it's how are we being too critical of other people? Are we kind of the golden rule, right? Which I think we have lost a lot of. Like, are we treating others how we want to be treated? And this goes both ways too, right? We want others to treat us in the most kind and gracious way, but do we do that to others? On the same token, do we give ourselves as much grace and everything as we would give like our best friend, right? So kind of taking all these energies and leaving what is detrimental, leaving what is counterproductive, and learning with this 29th degree to set the intention of taking only those things that speak life into us and into the world around us, forward with us as we move along on this journey called life. Then we look to see what else is going on with this. So we'll start again here with the sun and the moon, and it is in an opposition here to Saturn at 28 degrees of Pisces, as well as Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. First, we're just going to talk about Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and you'll notice that this is part of an overall kite pattern at this eclipse, which we will talk about. But the kite pattern, I want to point that out because the kite pattern is where we have this mini grand trine, but also this opposition. And it looks like a kite, or because then we also have these trines going on, right? So there's the kite. So there's a lot of supportive energy going on with these trines, which we'll talk about, and this mini grand trine right here with these sextiles and this trine. But what a kite does is it really focuses the energy at this point, right? This whole thing is pointing over here to Saturn and Uranus. And Saturn and Uranus, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces right now, which we'll talk about in a second. But Saturn and Uranus has been a focal point of, they've been hanging around this 0 point in this Pisces Aries axis for quite a while, and they're still going to be hanging out there for quite a while. And this is really where we are kind of transitioning from one age to the next and really closing out a lot of Pisces energy and moving into this Aries energy. And this is, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and we have these two big energies sitting at the beginning, the seeding point of the entire zodiac. And so we're being called individually and collectively to start something new here. And it's something big because, as I've talked about many times before, this energy doesn't, this conjunction between these two is very extremely rare. So that's why we're putting so much emphasis on it. But with this opposition to Saturn retrograde in Pisces, Saturn was here in Pisces for the last 2.5 years, and it went into Aries for a little bit to kind of show us where we need boundaries, what we are going to be focusing and building on. But now it's retrograding back into Pisces to give us another chance, being retrograde, to really look internally at what lessons over the last 2.5 years we've learned with Pisces. Because Saturn is, the planet of like karma. It's the planet of time. It's the planet of boundaries. It's the planet of, looking at a broader aspect of institutions and governments and organizations and things like that. And it's in Pisces, which is, both a very spiritual energy, but it's also this energy that's boundaryless. It is the energy of lies and deception and delusion and propaganda and things like that. So Saturn is going back here to really kind of clean up those things and bring in boundaries, especially with AI and being able to figure out what's real, what's not, and putting boundaries perhaps around our organization, whether that be our spiritual leaders, especially as it relates to Pisces, but our other leaders, right? And this is where they are trying to hold on to control. They don't want to let go of control. They're fighting, leaving the Pisces era of being able to keep things hidden, right? But with all the technology that we have, all the social media, keeping things hidden from the public and having that propaganda and having those lies and the deception, it's getting harder and harder for them. And, you can take this in your own life as well. Like, where is there deception in your life? Where are there untruths? Where are there things hidden that need to come to light? Those types of things. And where can we put boundaries? And where do we need to help with our discernment, which Saturn can help with that, to figure out what the truth is. So this is a huge energy, and this opposition, right? So we have this opposition between the sun and the moon, us, this power structure, and then Saturn. So I'm feeling this energy with both at the 29th degree, but this being a new moon as well, like this battle of like institutions wanting to deceive us, trying to deceive us, right? Or, depending on where this is in your personal chart, you can apply this to your personal life, but, where there might be things that are hidden that don't want to come to light, but we are trying to bring it to the light. We just want the facts. We want the facts. We want the figures. We want to be able to analyze it. We don't want anything hidden anymore. And that will allow us to, those facts and those figures will allow us to start this new beginning and set new intentions and figure things out, right? Whereas this Saturn in Pisces energy, it is where we're feeling opposition to powers, to power structures that are trying to hold on, right? Saturn is the building block, Saturn is the structure, and at the 28th degree, right, it's kind of being dismantled, right? So we're being asked to look at those power structures within our lives, whether they're power structures that we've set up or they are external power structures, and whether it is, in regards to like spiritual things or just our subconscious. Pisces also rules like our subconscious thought patterns and things like that. And Saturn retrograde here is really, in this opposition, is really asking us, what do we need to clean up? What do we need to finally see that we haven't been seeing, that we've been delusional about? And how do we dismantle it and build new foundations? So we're really in this review part of, well, I don't like the foundations. I don't like what this area of my life has been built on, and this retrograde is giving us a chance to go back and understand what we don't like about this area, so that when it moves back into Aries, we can start new, right? We can take the lessons that we've learned from this area, from the power structures, from what has been hidden or unseen within others or within ourselves, and how can we clean it up and avoid that mess in the future, right? So that's a lot of what I feel that is asking us to do. And then the opposition to Neptune and Aries here, Neptune is retrograde as well, but it is still in Aries and still in this energy of dreaming up the new beginning. And I think that is wonderful because it carries with it, right, this Neptune and Aries conjunct this Saturn and Pisces. This is at the beginning degree, this is at the ending degree, this is where things are hidden, this is where things come to light and we start to build something new. This is the final degrees of the entire zodiac, so big cycles ending, and this is big cycles beginning. So it carries very much the same energy of this new moon being at the 29th, the ending degree of Virgo, but being a new moon, so endings and new beginnings. This over here carries that same, but it's like bigger, because Neptune is really our hopes and our dreams, what we in the 0 degree point of Aries, what we want our world to look like, right? What Neptune can also be deception and delusion and things like that, but it's dreaming these big dreams of what we want our future to look like. And Saturn in Pisces is helping us see, oh, well, this is how we might be able to do that. This is what we need to tear down in order to build that new. And it's an opposition to Virgo. Oppositions usually want us to balance things out. So we're being asked to balance this energy of being detail oriented, having the facts, the figures, but not going too crazy, not being too judgmental, not being too, I don't know how to say it other than being too much with it. So like balancing the details with the bigger picture and figuring out how to make sense of it all and not be deceived, and figuring out that discernment. Okay, so now we have the sun and the moon in a trine with Uranus and Gemini. So what is Uranus and Gemini about? Uranus is where we want to break out of the box, where we want to do things differently than have been done before. It is also a very chaotic and electrical energy. It is where unexpected events or ideas or inspirations or things like that can come up, can happen. I kind of equate it to the Tower card in the tarot. Like that lightning bolt can just come out of nowhere and shake everything up, and we weren't expecting it, right? We didn't even know there was a storm on the horizon. Just all of a sudden it's here, shaking things up for us. That can be the electrical type nature, this sudden like, what just happened type energy of Uranus. And in Gemini, Gemini is about technology. It is about communication. It is about transportation. It is about thought. It is about speech. So we see a lot of things going on in this arena right now as a result of what happened in the shocking event that happened in the collective of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, right? And in your own life, there might be more personal examples, like there was also, this same day was a school shooting in Evergreen, Colorado. As far as communication and thought and speech and all those things, the sudden event of Charlie Kirk is playing a massive part in what is going on in the collective with this energy right now. And this trine, I don't really care what side of the fence you're on, other than the evil side of the fence that we have seen come through with celebrating people's deaths. I don't think that. I think that is showing the amount of evil that is in our society. But regardless of what side of the political spectrum besides that you fall on, I feel like it's pretty clear that the information that we're being given isn't clear. And so this trine to Uranus and Gemini is really shining a light on that and really helping us as a collective. This, represents communities and things like that as well, local communities and local little people, not big institutions, but local people are coming together. And Uranus does also represent like the collective as well, coming together to really dive into this information, because the official narratives and things like that aren't feeling like we're getting all the details. They're feeling a little bit more Saturn organizations in Pisces wanting to be deceptive, wanting to hide the truth. And we are, that's this opposition here. And we are coming together to really figure out the truths, to find the truths. And this trine is helping us do it. And some of these revelations and things, perhaps might be a little bit shocking as they continue to be uncovered. And then in your own life, hopefully it's not as big of things going on, but it can be the same types of things. It can be, shocking things happening or coming to the surface in whatever area of life this is in, but it could be in regards to communication, in regards to simply thought patterns. Where are we getting? This is a great time to take the detail-oriented part of this and look at, considering Gemini is thought, look at where our thoughts are coming from. If we have a particular belief about something, where are we being influenced with that belief system? Is it ours? And we might uncover some shocking truths that maybe all of our thought processes aren't our own. That's this Pisces energy having been programmed with subconscious thought patterns that, if we take a minute to think about, don't really reflect our true nature, don't really reflect who we are inside, don't reflect those things. So those things could be coming to light, and it could be kind of a shock to our system. Or just, new information coming in, new communication, new ideas, new ways of using technology to uncover things like that. So then we also have this trine over here to Pluto in Aquarius. So So Aquarius is kind of the collective. Pluto is transformation. Pluto is that energy of being willing to go into the depths and the dark that we don't want to see. We are seeing the underbelly, the depths, the darkness that does exist in our collective, and I think it is a bit of a, with this trine over here that it's having to Uranus, it is a bit, we are feeling it a bit as a shock to some of the thoughts and ideas that people have about what is acceptable in our society and what isn't. You know, I don't want to get too political, but how can people think that political violence and assassinating or killing people for having a difference of opinion is okay, but then when we voice our joy for being happy over that killing, that we're fired from our jobs, and that's not fair. Like, those two thought processes are so incongruent, and you know, with the details, those details coming to light is really shining, you know, a light on this Pluto and Aquarius energy, this darkness, this where our society as a collective needs to be transformed, where we need to shine a light on this darkness in order to bring light and love to it, and hopefully, you know, do something productive with it. So this trine with the sun and the moon is really, you know, showing us the details and showing us where we need to let go of things as well. Perhaps, you know, our ideas, our own judgments of other people, right? This trine of and release of where we're judging to others too harshly, where we are not practicing the golden rule and seeing this underbelly. What transformations do we need to make in the collective so that everybody feels more safe and secure in their selves, and, you know, really looking at what the details are and taking a more practical rather than an emotional approach, right? This trine, I think, is helping us be able to take that emotion, really dig deep, maybe even into looking at the details of why there's this dark underbelly, you know, this plutonic, this dark underbelly energy in the collective, looking at the details of it and being logical and analytical and seeing where it stems from. Pluto is also digging for the truth. Like, where is this information? Where are these ideas? Where are these details that are, you know, the basis of these beliefs and stuff coming from? And that trine, I think, is going to help us uncover that. Then we have also a yod in this chart, and a yod is the finger of God, right? So in this kite pattern that we talked about, we're being asked to kind of really focus on this. What do we want to build in the future, and what do we want to let go of right now, and how do we move forward with that? And, you know, it's by dreaming what we want and balancing the details with it. And then this yod, the focal point is Mars here at 29 degrees of Libra, and the yod is this inconjunct between Mars and Uranus and Gemini, and this Saturn and Neptune, it seems to play a part in everything. So, we're being with this kite pattern, we are being asked to focus our energy over here, but with the yod, the finger of God, we're being asked to focus the energy here as well. Well, what is Mars? Mars is our energy, our drive, our willpower, our ability to take action on ideas, take action on something. So where are we being asked to take action on? Well, Mars is at the 29th degree of Libra. Libra is about balance. Libra is about thinking of the other. This 29th degree is asking us, to look at where we have been, what have we been doing, what is working, what isn't, and what are we moving into, what are we closing out. So it's really asking us to focus our energy on and willpower on thinking about the other, making moves not just for ourselves and our own desires, right? Mars in and of itself can be selfish. It is the warrior. It is the I am. It rules Aries over here. It rules this Neptune and the world we want to live in, the world we want to believe in, the world we want to believe is possible. This in conjunction, although we aren't sure how to make this world we believe in possible, because in conjunction they can't quite see each other, right? The best way, and this Uranus, this shocking information, these new revelations, this breaking out of the box of how things have been done, energy, we can't see what to do with that exactly. All we know is that we need to move forward, and that in our moving forward, we need to consider the other, Libra. We need to make sure that things are fair and balanced. How we're dealing with communication and speech and things like that. We need to make sure that we're moving forward in a way that is balanced and considering all sides, not silencing speech on one side or the other. And really, what type of world do we want to live in, right? So this yod is really asking us to, as we're moving forward with this warrior spirit, to not get so caught up in ourselves and to take others and fairness into consideration. And I think that is huge. And I just want to look really quick at the ruler of this is Mercury. Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury is our thoughts, our communication, our how we learn. And it is also in Libra, wanting us to be balanced and think of others, wanting us to make sure that it isn't just one side that's getting to speak, but that everybody's getting to speak, because the unexpected events that have happened really are triggering this wanting to silence different groups, right? And Mercury, the ruler of this solar eclipse, is wanting us, and this Mars, this warrior, is wanting us to make sure that we're considering all sides and aren't allowing just one side to have the speech, right? And if we look at this in our own lives too, again, look to see where Libra is in your own natal chart, and that can give you an idea of what type of balance you might need in your own personal life, where you need to move forward and make sure that you aren't just considering yourself, and where you need to make sure that you are being fair and just and considering considering others and how you are moving forward with your own personal desires, with your own communication. Are you just speaking, or are you also listening? Those are the types of things that this Mercury in Libra is asking, along with this Mars, which is the head of the Yod, the finger of God. So there's a lot of talk about fairness and justice and things like that in this chart. So up to this point, I would say that this solar eclipse in Virgo has a lot to do with getting details and facts and figures, being analytical rather than emotional, being very balanced in our emotions, not letting our emotions run away with us. That is a big thing of it. And then considering, that it's at the 29th degree, like looking at what we need to release in those Virgo areas of our life, those more shadow energies of Virgo, where we can be too judgmental of ourselves, too judgmental of others, like that type of energy that we need to let go of so that we can move forward and do the things that, like, the Yod in this chart is asking us to do. Mercury, the ruler, being both in Virgo or in Libra, asking us to really take into account all sides of the things, looking to take into account the other, not just our own personal desires, making sure that things are fair, making sure that in our communication we're listening as well as speaking, that we are able to do both. And then, having the Kite focused on that Saturn and Uranus energy on that Pisces Aries axis of dreaming up, like, what do we want our world to look like? I'm pretty sure everybody is disillusioned with what the world looks like right now, both in our personal lives and our collective lives, right? Because what's going on in the collective affects us personally, right? So looking at that, looking at what institutions are deceiving us, and how can we bring that to light? How can we transform that? And then, on a more individual level, that seeing the dark sides of our society, the evil that exists in our society, and where does that stem from? Where, how can we uncover where those thought patterns, where that evil is stemming from, and how can we transform it? How can we use that Pluto energy to dig deep and to shine the light on it and change it so that we are able to take our hopes and dreams of the Saturn and Pluto energy and build it into something real with that Mars, thinking about everybody involved. We don't all have to want the same things. We don't all have to agree on things, but we do need to be able to take that Pisces energy of compassion and love, which is what the North Node in Pisces wants us to do. The North Node in Pisces wants us to have this compassion, have this universal love. So keep that energy of Pisces, but let go of all the deception of Pisces. How do we move forward and create this world? And this eclipse is really helping shine a light on all of those things, so that hopefully when all these outer planets especially turn back retrograde, my hope is that we'll be able to have ideas that maybe start to show up unexpectedly through this solar eclipse or whatever, that we can make those changes and build the better world that we all want to live in. So that about sums up my interpretation of this solar eclipse, this new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, and what is going on. I always encourage you to listen to other astrologers as well, because we all have our different takes. We all see different things in the sky, and we all read the energy a little bit differently. So it's always good to hear multiple perspectives. I enjoy doing that, and I encourage my listeners to do the same. I will say that if you are wanting to learn how to apply these types of horoscopes and discussions to your chart on a more personal level, even if you are a beginner, I do have a course, a beginner's astrology course called Your First Astrology Course, that actually is taking off, launching today. Today is the first day of the 6-week long course, where I take you from today. The first session will be just simply how to pull up your natal chart, and a discussion of the various tools and websites that I use and why I use the different ones that I do. And then from there, over the next 6 weeks, I'll be walking you through, once you pulled up your chart, how to make sense of all the glyphs and everything like we've been looking at. Because if you're not familiar with it, it looks like a bunch of gobbledygook. So making sense of what you're looking at, talking about the planets and the houses and the signs and what they all mean, and kind of how to put them all together to make an interpretation, and then how to take that and look at not only your birth chart, look at your sun, your rising, and your moon and your birth chart, as well as then looking at, like, taking videos like this, for example, seeing where things are happening in the sky, and taking that information and kind of using it and looking at your chart and seeing, number one, how strongly it is affecting you, if the energy is just kind of in the background or if it's hitting you hard, and just overall, okay, well, this solar eclipse is hitting these areas of my chart, which means these areas of my life are where I'm going to more than likely see things and events show up. So if you want, it is on early bird special until we actually start the class. So it is on sale through the rest of today, and then tomorrow the price will go up. So if that is a course that you're interested in joining, the link will be in the description for that below. I hope to see you there, and I hope the rest of this eclipse season certainly is a little less shocking, but just, and a little bit more loving. Let's make sure that we are thinking about all people, and, just having balance and love and compassion in our hearts, and looking at the details where we need to, so we aren't being deceived by anything, and have our eyes wide open. I think that is what this is calling us forward to look at, is where do we need our eyes wide open? Where do we need the details that have been hidden from us, so that we can make these decisions on how to build the world that we want to build in the future, both personally and collectively. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Comment below with what you think, how this is hitting you, how it's manifesting for you, and I look forward to seeing you here next time. Thanks, and have a great day.